Is Chelsea finally ready to stop gambling and start winning? From Rosenyor's shaky run to Xabi Alonso rumors, a John Stones transfer push, and a Brazil dream chased at Stamford Bridge, here is everything you need to know right now. Let us be completely honest with each other. If you support Chelsea right now, you are probably feeling something like confusion, mixed with excitement, mixed with a little bit of worry. And honestly, that is very normal, because this is a club that never gives you a quiet moment. Just last weekend, Chelsea went out and demolished Port Vale 7-0 in the FA Cup. 7 goals. A hammering that looked every bit like a team firing on all cylinders. Yet only a few days before that result, the same Chelsea squad had suffered 4 straight defeats in the league. 4 in a row. How is that possible? How does a team look so terrible one week and so brilliant the next? That question sits right at the heart of everything going on at Stamford Bridge at the moment. And there are several big stories branching out from it. We are talking about the future of manager Liam Rossignol, the very real possibility that Xabi Alonso could walk through the doors this summer, a push to sign experienced Manchester City defender John Stones, and a young Brazilian midfielder fighting for his World Cup place. There is a lot to get into, so let us start at the beginning. The Liam Rossignol question nobody wants to ask out loud. Liam Rossignol is 41 years old. He came in as the new Chelsea manager after Enzo Maresca left the club earlier this season, and at first, things seemed fine. The team was adjusting, players were getting time on the pitch, and there was a feeling that maybe this was the right move at the right moment. But then the results got bad. 4 straight defeats is not just a rough patch. In the Premier League, 4 consecutive losses is the kind of run that gets managers fired. Clubs at the top level of English football do not usually wait around when the results go that wrong, so people started talking. Is Rossignol really the man for Chelsea? Is he strong enough to turn this around? Does this team actually believe in him? Then came the 7-0 win over Port Vale in the FA Cup. And just like that, the conversation changed again. Suddenly Rossignol looked more secure. The pressure eased slightly. The atmosphere around the club improved. That is the strange, unpredictable world of football management. One result can change absolutely everything. Think about this. If Chelsea had lost that FA Cup game against Port Vale, do you think Rossignol would still be in a job today? And if the answer is no, does that tell us something about how fragile his position really is? Right now, from what is being reported, Chelsea are not planning to make a change immediately. They are giving Rossignol time and space to prove himself. That is an important detail. The club have not publicly turned on him. His players are still talking positively, and one player in particular is very happy to have him as his manager. Jurel Hato, the Dutch left-back, apparently struggled for game time under Enzo Maresca. He did not get the chances he felt he deserved. Since Rossignol came in, that has changed. Hato has been getting on the pitch regularly, and it seems he is flourishing for it. When a young player goes on record saying he is happier under a new manager, that is a meaningful thing. It shows that Rossignol is at least building trust within his squad, even if the results are still inconsistent. But here is the thing. Chelsea being Chelsea, you can never fully relax, because even while they publicly back Rossignol, they are also quietly looking at other options, just in case. Xabi Alonso is available and Chelsea are watching. When Xabi Alonso left Bayer Leverkusen after his incredible run there, many clubs across Europe sat up and took notice. The man had done something almost impossible in German football. He had taken Leverkusen, a club that had never won the Bundesliga in its history, and not only delivered the title, but done it without losing a single game all season. Think about that for a second. 28 wins that season 6 draws 90 points total, an entire season, not one defeat. Bayern Munich, who had dominated German football for years and years, were finally knocked off their throne, and it was Xabi Alonso who did it. That kind of achievement does not happen by accident. It requires brilliant tactical thinking, man management skills, and the ability to get every single player pulling in the same direction at the same time. It is genuinely remarkable. After that, Alonso moved to Real Madrid. Many felt it was the natural next step. He was a legend at that club as a player. He knew the culture. He understood what was expected, but things did not go the way anyone hoped. By January of this year, he had been sacked. Football is brutally unforgiving, even to legends, so now Xabi Alonso is available. He has no club. He is one of the most respected young managers in world football, and according to reports from Team Talk, Chelsea are keeping an eye on him. Chelsea have looked at Alonso in the past, so it would not be a surprise if they made a move for him at some point. Team Talk report, April 2026. This is not the first time Chelsea and Xabi Alonso have been linked. It has come up before, and the fact that it keeps coming up tells you something. This is not just idle transfer gossip. There is a genuine interest there, and given that Alonso is now out of work, the opportunity exists in a way it has not before. Now, to be clear, this does not mean Rossignol is being pushed out right now. Chelsea are not planning to fire him in the middle of the season, but football is always about planning ahead. Smart clubs are always looking at the next move, even when the current situation is stable. The fact that Chelsea are monitoring Alonso suggests they want to be ready if something changes. Your opinion matters. Would you rather Chelsea stick with Rossignol and give him a full season to prove himself, or would you take Xabi Alonso if he became available in the summer? This is one of the most interesting debates in English football right now. The argument for Rosenior is straightforward. Continuity matters. Changing managers too often disrupts everything. Players have to learn new systems, new ideas, new expectations. Chelsea have already changed managers recently, going from Maresca to Rosenior. Another change so soon would be a huge disruption. Plus, Rosenior is young, hungry, and clearly has a positive relationship with his squad. Some players have spoken about needing time to adjust after Maresca left, suggesting another sudden change would hurt them. The argument for Alonso is also straightforward. His track record speaks for itself. A manager who goes an entire season unbeaten does not do that by accident. If you have the chance to bring in someone with that kind of talent and experience, you have to at least think seriously about it. Chelsea want to compete not just in the Premier League, but in Europe. That requires elite management. Either way, this situation is going to be one of the most talked about stories at the club between now and the end of the season. Why Chelsea have decided to change how they buy players. For the last 4 years, since the new ownership group Blueco took over Chelsea, there has been one very clear pattern in how the club recruits players. They go young. Sometimes very young. The idea has been to build a squad with low average age, high potential, and long-term resale value. In theory, it is a smart model. In practice, it has created a squad where experience can sometimes be lacking in the most important moments. Rosenior himself gave a hint about this when he spoke to the media last week. He did not come out and say things are changing directly, but when he talked about what Chelsea want in new signings this summer, the message was very clear. He spoke about wanting players with emotional stability, players with good characters who know how to handle difficult moments, and players who understand what it takes to win under pressure. Read between the lines there and you get a very clear picture. Chelsea want players who have been there before, players who have felt the pressure of big games and come through the other side. That is a very different thing from signing a 20-year-old prodigy from South America who might be brilliant one day but has never played in a pressure-filled Premier League game in their life. Football.London has reported that Chelsea are specifically looking for a starting-level central defender this summer. Someone who can come in and be part of the first team immediately. Not a project, not a player for the future, someone for right now. Here is the big question. Has Chelsea's young player-first approach actually worked? When you look at where the club stands today compared to where they were 4 years ago, has all that investment in youth actually moved the needle? Or is it time for a real rethink? It is a fair debate. There are players in the current Chelsea squad who have come through that system and look genuinely promising, but promising and winning are two different things, and Chelsea as a football club have always been about winning. That is the standard that has been set. Right now, the gap between where they are and where they need to be is still significant. Why William Gallas thinks John Stones is the perfect signing. When former players speak about what a club needs, it is always worth listening carefully. These are people who have lived it. They know what it feels like to walk out in front of a packed Stamford Bridge with the pressure of expectation on their shoulders. When William Gallas, who played for Chelsea for years, says the club needs to sign John Stones, that is not something to brush aside. Gallas was speaking to Boyle Sports this week, and he was very direct about what he sees as a long-standing problem at Chelsea. In his view, the defensive line at the club has been missing a genuine leader for years, not just someone who can pass the ball out from the back or win headers, a real leader, someone who talks to his defenders, communicates with his midfielders, organizes the shape of the team, and takes pressure on his shoulders so that others do not have to. You need experienced players in every line of your team. At center back, you need experience in the middle of the back line. You need one player who can control, who can speak to his defenders, who can speak to his midfielders and take the pressure on his shoulders. William Gallas, speaking to Boyle Sports, Gallas went even further and put Thiago Silva and John Terry in the same conversation when talking about what he is looking for. Those are two of the greatest center-backs in Chelsea's history. Both were exactly the kind of player he is describing. Leaders, characters, men who made everyone around them better simply by being on the same pitch. And in Gallas's view, John Stones could be that person for Chelsea right now. The 31-year-old Manchester City defender has won everything there is to win in English football during his time at the Etihad, Premier League titles, domestic cups, Champions League glory. He has played under Pep Guardiola, which means he's been trained in one of the most demanding tactical systems in world football. He knows what winning looks like from the inside. His contract at Manchester City runs out at the end of this season. That means Chelsea could potentially bring him in without paying a transfer fee, just wages and a signing bonus. For a player of his quality and experience, that is an extraordinary opportunity, the kind that does not come around very often. Worth thinking about John Stones is 31 years old. Some fans will say that is too old for Chelsea's squad. Others will say that his experience and leadership are exactly what has been missing. Where do you land on this one? Is 31 too old, or is it the prime of a centre-back's career? There is also the question of whether Stones would even want to join Chelsea. He has spent years at one of the best clubs in the world, working with one of the best managers in history. Moving to Chelsea would be a different kind of challenge, a rebuild project in some ways, but sometimes that is exactly what a player wants at this stage of their career, the chance to lead. The chance to be the main man rather than one of several world-class defenders at the same club. If Chelsea do sign Stones, the message it would send is very powerful. It would tell the rest of the Premier League that this club is serious about adding real quality and real experience. It would tell Chelsea's younger defenders that there is someone in the building who has already been where they are trying to go, and it would give Rosenior or whoever ends up managing the club next season a proper defensive foundation to build from. Andre Santos, the Man City game, and a World Cup dream away from all the managerial drama and transfer talk, there is a story happening quietly on the pitch that deserves more attention. Andre Santos, the Brazilian midfielder, has been getting more and more minutes for Chelsea as the season has gone on, and this weekend is shaping up to be one of the most important weeks of his time at the club so far. First, Chelsea face Manchester City at home in the Premier League on Sunday. That is already a massive game in its own right. But for Santos personally, this run of games is about more than just 3 points. He has his eye on the World Cup this summer. Brazil will be picking their squad, and Santos knows that if he wants to be on that plane, he needs to perform at the very highest level right now, at his club, in big games, against big opponents. Speaking on the club's official website, Santos was honest about where his head is at. He said the team needs to focus on doing their job in the City game, and that is the most important thing. But he also opened up about his personal ambitions, acknowledging that playing in the World Cup is a dream shared by many players, and that to make it happen, he has to deliver for Chelsea first. That is a really healthy attitude. Some young players get caught up in the national team dream and lose focus on their club work. Santos seems to understand that the path to the World Cup runs directly through his performances at Stamford Bridge. Consistent, high-quality football for Chelsea is his best possible argument to Brazil's coaching staff. Question for the Chelsea faithful. Do you think Andre Santos has done enough this season to justify being in the Brazil World Cup squad? And more importantly, do you think he is starting to look like a genuine long-term starter for Chelsea? The City game will be a tough test. Manchester City, even in their current form, are never easy opponents. And it is worth noting that Chelsea will be without Enzo Fernandez this weekend. The Argentine midfielder is serving the second game of a 2-match club ban. So Santos and whoever else lines up in midfield will need to carry extra responsibility in what could be a very physical and tactical battle. Fernandez's absence is significant, but it also creates an opportunity for players like Santos to step up and show the manager and the fans what they are capable of when the stage is biggest. That is when careers are made or stalled. Big game, big moment, big performance. That is what Santos needs, putting it all together. When you step back and look at all of these stories together, what you see is a Chelsea club at a genuine crossroads. The decisions made in the next few months could shape the next 3 or 4 years of the club's history. On the pitch, there is talent. Cole Palmer has shown brilliance. Santos is growing. Hato is developing nicely. The 7-0 cup win proves the squad is capable of very good football when everything clicks. But 4 straight Premier League defeats also prove that consistency is still a major problem. And at a club with Chelsea's ambitions, inconsistency is not something you can accept for long. Off the pitch, the summer transfer window could be transformative. If Chelsea sign Stones and bring in 1 or 2 other experienced Premier League players, the whole feel of the squad changes. They stop being a young, ambitious project and start becoming a genuine force. Add a manager like Xabi Alonso, and suddenly people outside the club would start taking them very seriously indeed as title contenders. But all of that is still in the future. For now, the focus has to be on Sunday against Manchester City. Win that game and the mood around the club improves dramatically. Lose it and the questions about Rosenior will return louder than before. This is football. Every game matters. Every result carries weight. Final big question. If you were the person making decisions at Chelsea right now, what would your summer plan look like? Would you keep Rosenior, go after Alonso, sign Stones, and push for a top 4 finish next season? Or is there something completely different that you think the club needs to do? The bridge is still standing. Chelsea have been through so many ups and downs over the years that most Blues fans have learned to take the chaos in their stride. The club always seems to find a way to keep you guessing, keep you talking, and keep you coming back for more. Right now, there are more questions than answers, but that is part of what makes following this club so interesting. Rosenior or Alonso, Stones in or Stones out, Santos for Brazil or not quite yet. These are the conversations happening in pubs, on social media, in living rooms, and on matchday walks to the ground right now, and every single one of them matters. Keep watching Chelsea this season, because this story is nowhere near finished. In fact, it feels like it is only just getting started. Come on, you Blues. KTBFFH.